credits. That's the game. So Trump's got to go to Johnson and say, we're going to do this. And the Duma will salute.
I agree with that too. All right, we'll keep talking about this. It's going to come up. Okay, lots going on still with Israel and Gaza. White House officials did a lot of briefing yesterday of reporters and laid out their view of things. A little bit more to conversation about what the peacekeeping force would look like, but still tons of ambiguity there. Still a lot of ambiguity about Israel being very bellicose in its language, saying, if we don't get the bodies back and if Hamas doesn't disarm, we will do this. And I still believe when the president said we will disarm them, he really meant Israel.
Yeah. We will allow them to be disarmed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So this is a evolving situation. And here's my question. We're waiting for the bodies to be returned, and Hamas now says they need equipment to find some of the bodies. We're waiting to see what the peacekeeping force looks like. We're waiting to see, there's lots of talk about maybe they'll rebuild parts of Gaza where it's easier to build, and those will be like the good parts. And that'll, be like, what do you call that? Those urban enterprise zone, like an enterprise zone.
There's a 90s term.
Yeah. And then there's some other moving parts, but where's time the enemy of this, Dan? Where's time the enemy of this, rather than just it can play out? Like where's the pressure? Is there any?
Mark, we're on YouTube now.
Great, welcome to the YouTube audience. But we don't have elements, right? We're just on YouTube. So do you want me to assume my YouTube?
Watch your text.
More of my YouTube. Okay, you want me to assume more of my YouTube voice? What does it matter to me?
Welcome our YouTube audience late.
Oh, welcome. Sorry we were late, YouTube audience. We're glad to have you here. You can go later, watch the whole show if you didn't like what you missed. You missed some great stuff. Dan juggled, Sean did card tricks, and I used my more intimate two-way platform voice. But now I'm using my YouTube voice. Dan, is there anything where there's time pressure, where there's like a ticking clock?
Yes, this is as old as time itself. Who controls the streets? And right now, it sure sounds like Hamas is racing to reestablish in the vacuum, we control Gaza. They're executing people who supposedly collaborated with Israel. The problem is if they get that toehold back, now you're not trying to fill what is a blank slate. You have to dislodge them. You have to take them back out.
Can I push back on that in a gentle and friendly and collegial way?
Smack.
Again, I'm not celebrating any loss of human life. But if a bunch of Hamas thugs are killing a bunch of their enemies, and probably vice versa, I mean, they're doing the work that needs to be done to some extent.
Those are the people who collaborated with Israel, who presumably are moderate.
Some of it, sure, you're right about that. But I'm just saying, like, I get that that's not. I get what you're saying, but I'm just saying, like, they're just playing stuff out. There's no threat to the deal. So here's the
thing. Let's play this out. Let's say that they start standing a government up in some capacity to deliver I'm sorry to
interrupt, but that's not happening anytime soon.
Why?
I mean, Tony Blair might try to stand something up, but there's going to be no organic government anytime soon.
Well, no, that's not true. It's the law of the jungle. If I have the gun and I control the corner, I control the government. Well, that's so it's just like Iraq. Right. We went in there, we disbanded everything, we knocked it, and then we looked around and said, who's in charge? Yeah. And Iran and everyone funneled in people, and they just started standing up fear. So then you have to dislodge them.
I take your point, but I still don't think that's urgent today. Sean, I just don't. I think it's important in the next month, but I don't think it's urgent today. Sean.
So but Mark, then your job is harder because you have to then redefeat them.
I think they're burning themselves out. Sean.
I mean, the only thing I think that matters is, like, I was actually, and again, we're seeing this from afar, but when Hamas said, hey, it's not that we're not turning over bodies, we need equipment, I thought that was a positive thing, meaning it looks at least like they're trying. So to answer your question, I think is where the accusations ramp up, where you're not keeping up your end of the bargain, is where and so far it looks like appearance wise people are trying to do that, which is a helpful thing. It's until that point in which one side starts saying to the other, you're not fulfilling the terms of this agreement. And I know there's a little on the periphery of this, but that's where the enemy becomes where one side says, forget it, we're walking,
right,
you're not doing it.
Let me ask this question. Don't need to give me a long answer, because we got to get to other topics. But Israel's, again, being very bellicose. Israel's saying, if Hamas doesn't disarm, we're going in. If that happens, how does the world react? Does the world say condemn Israel, or does
Yes.
the world? Yes, the world doesn't say Hamas didn't live up to its end of the bargain, so thank you, Israel, for
It
doing
has
it.
to be egregious. I mean, if Hamas, that's what I'm saying. Hamas is trying. If they stop, if it gets too much, I think, and Israel jumps the shark, as they say, I think that's the problem. Israel can't look too aggressive without like a corollary of provocation. Like it can't,
Dan,
like, hey, we think this.
Dan.
I mean, I think it depends how bad it is again. I mean, if they go in and they take out some Hamas, people with guns, I don't think it's as big of a deal. But if civilians start getting killed and you start setting up perimeter zones and driving people out again, then the world says, here we go. We're spiraling right back down.
I just hope they fast track the Peace Force. That would be good. All right, China. Scott Bessent, very bellicose in some ways yesterday, but once again, he's both good cop and bad cop, and we're all just looking towards the meeting in a couple weeks, which is as of now still on. Dan, if you were Scott Bessent's chief of staff, what would you want to have happen between now and the meeting? What would be like on your to-do list to kind of tee up the meeting?
At this point, I think it doesn't get worse. Just try to keep this where it is, get people to stop making comments or making sharp moves. I think is the best you can do, because China does not want to lose face right now. And they got the White House. They caught him by surprise and they were unapologetic about it.
Sean?
You want an agenda? Start to lay that agenda out, have it agreed to at the deputies level, to get the vice premier to sign off on what is going to be discussed, where you what initial steps you want to make it out. So you want to have a work plan, especially with China. They're very they don't tend to like that kind of stuff. So sort of an agreement on what the items are that are going to be discussed, what deliverables need to come out, and what we can close before they actually meet.
Okay.
But China usually likes to have everything scripted. So like that is the one good thing. They don't like surprises at all.
They don't
follow through on anything.
Scripted.
Yeah. Yesterday, the president asserted that India had agreed to stop buying Russian oil. As far as I know, when I last checked, the Indians had not confirmed that. Sean, do you think this is happening, or this is a Trump?
I was a little shocked when he made that comment about Modi. Yeah. But it was also done in a very glowing way. Like he's my friend and he wants to do this, and he said he's doing it.
But do you think it's happening or not?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't either. Dan?
Same. Nope.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. Wall Street Journal has a story today that says Scott Bessent and others at the IRS, Scott Bessent is acting IRS commissioner, are rejiggering the way the investigative unit there works with the expressed intent to go after some of these liberal groups, Soros, etc., by using the powers of the IRS to target the president's political enemies. The IRS, of course, has long been considered, back to the Nixon years, a very hot tripwire, hot button, whatever you want to call it, that involving the IRS in political activity is long been, there's been a bipartisan consensus that that's particularly dangerous. Now, do I need to say the words Lerner and Lois? I do not, because you're all familiar with the fact that it appears that this was done by a Democratic administration previously. One of many areas where, as with the prosecutions of the president's political enemies, where people on the right say, guys, you did this already. Your rhetoric about how outrageous this is applies to your very own activities. So in this story in the Journal, there's no explanation, on-point explanation from the people at the IRS or the White House about is their reporting correct. And the sourcing in the story is very oblique. Some of it could be liberal career officials. Some of it could be, people who are unhappy with whatever. Like, there's not a lot of clarity about where this is coming from. And I suspect, just based on how the world works, that the story's overwritten. Nonetheless, we should all be very on guard for any administration to use the IRS for political purposes. Dan, is this something that's going to disappear and never come up again, or is this a serious issue because they're really going to do it and everybody needs to understand how they're using the IRS?
I think it's a serious issue. I think they will do it. I think when the Lerner came out, Congress jumped on it like white on rice, held hearings, demanded more information, sent out subpoenas. This Congress will salute. They will simply be mute.
And there'll
we
be no
haven't
check on
talked
it except
about
maybe
it.
the courts.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about it, but there was a quote, I think it was in the Wall Street Journal this weekend, in which the White House laughed that the Congress is the Duma, the Russian parliament that just does whatever the heck Putin wants. That is, I've never heard somebody talk about their own party as a subservient lapdog like that. Again, I think one of the best messages Democrats have is check and balance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how blatant Trump is getting of like, yeah, we're doing this.
Yeah. Sean,
and you.
Yeah, Sean, the Gail Sayers book, I Am Third. You know that book?
I do not.
Okay. Well, in your life, I know it's a faith, family, and then freedom. I know you love freedom, maybe third, but I know you love freedom. How alarmed are you by the prospect that a government would use the powers of the IRS to punish political enemies?
I mean, like going after pro-life groups and Second Amendment groups. I mean, companies.
You're bothered by that, but you could also
no.
So
Look, right. So here's what I would say. I know, just as a side note, and there was some issues. Trump appointed Billy Long, a former congressman from Missouri, and there was some issue with whether or not Billy Long, who has now been appointed some ambassadorship somewhere,
he wasn't long for the job. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I do know that there was a bit of discussion about whether he was willing to do the task at hand. Yes, I am concerned. I do believe, because I don't like, again, I feel like the eighth grader inside of me that says, well, you started it. But I don't like the IRS being weaponized for a million reasons, because I know what the left will do. That being said, I mean, look, if groups like George Soros and a bunch of these guys have done stuff inappropriate, obviously it's appropriate to look at them. And if there's a reason that they haven't been looked at, but I think weaponizing them, these tools is something that I always worry about, because I sort of have the long-term view of like, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
Again, the one thing I would say is this goes back to like everything that we talk about, though, which is we as Republicans constantly have sat back and said, well, okay, it wasn't right when they did it. We should be the better ones. And I mean, the problem is that we do it on issue after issue. And I think that there's a frustration, rightly so, on the right, which is, why are we the ones that always have to be the better angels and say, okay, we'll stop it here. You guys look into pro-life groups, you go after Second Amendment groups and companies, but we should be the ones that say enough's enough, right? We should be the ones that say, okay, gosh, it's wrong to weaponize the judicial system. It's wrong to break the filibuster to do certain, just to advance an agenda. I get it. There's too many times when you feel like you're defending being the better person every time.
I think the one thing that is
Dan,
new,
don't you feel so horrible for the Republicans that they're constantly having to just do tit for tat? They never do anything. They never do anything wrong first.
Right. The one thing that does appear to be new is we've never had a president overtly sit there with people in the room and instruct them in public to go get somebody and go do this.
It might be nice. At least it's in public.
There you go. I mean, that's like the whole thing about Trump's corruption. That one of their GOP talking points is, well, he's out in the open about it. I think it was Mike Johnson. And it was like, okay. Again, just when Democrats are in office, if Kamala Harris had sat there at a press conference with her AG and FBI director and said, boy, they better go get this person and that person. I mean, It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
All right, a couple more topics and then to your questions. So please, if you want to be in the conversation, raise your hand. Pentagon press corps has left the building, like Elvis. And now they're trying to cover the building from outside the building. I don't know. You can ask people to meet you at the Starbucks and the food court. So, first question, Sean. I've been there. I've been in that press area only once in my career. Is it possible to cover the building without being inside the building? Like, what kind of access do they have? They don't really have much access. They can't walk around.
Let me back up just a second. And I'm being serious for both of you. Have you ever been to pick your other department agency, to Health and Human Services, Education?
I've been to most of them.
Okay, good. Can you walk into any of them?
No, you have very little access. You basically,
correct.
You have to be escorted.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the Department of Defense, and I say that because people need to understand what happens here. So at the Pentagon, when you apply for a press badge and get credentialed, you get a badge. It's a different color than well, now everyone wears a cat card, but that's neither here nor there. So you get a colored badge, and you can walk pretty much anywhere you want. Okay, obviously, when you go into a particular office, if they have a SCIF, a secure room, just like any other military or civilian or contractor, you have to be cleared to go into that particular room. But when I worked on the Joint Staff or the Office of Secretary of Defense, or even in Chief, you can literally, a reporter can walk into the office, sit down next to your desk.
I thought it was a little more limited than it used to be.
No,
Is that not the case?
No. So that's one of the policies that that the secretary and his team are saying, is that you have to be escorted. Yeah. Which, frankly, remember, in any other building, when you go to Health and Human Services or education or whatever, you can't. Yeah, right. So now it's saying you don't have free reign. You can still go to the food court, by the way, which is downstairs. But you can't just willy-nilly walk around the building. The controversial piece, as I understand it, and by the way, I'm literally reading the updated policy right now, because it says, to be clear, these regulations are the laws and regulations that apply to military members and DoD civilian contractors. Members of the news media are not required to submit written writings to the Department of War for approval. This is the actual policy that's been submitted. I don't think that what you're reading, what the news media is reading, is actually what the policy is. That is the exact policy.
I have to pull you out of the weeds. I apologize for pulling you out of the weeds. How is this going to end? Are the reporters going to come back, or are we going to have?
I don't think so. I don't think they can. Look, bottom line is the big controversy is you can't go in and take classified information the same way that a military member or a department or contractor. If you're getting access to a building, you can't violate the law.
Right. But Dan, why are so many news organizations not willing to abide by this?
Because the idea that you can't talk to people without express kind of permission from the government is
in the building. By the way, in the building.
But that's how reporting happens.
That is bonkers. I mean, that is like, maybe it's a point of agreement with China. Like, great, we're both going to just control our press.
Dan, there's three options. The Pentagon no longer has a press corps. The administration changes the policy, or the news organizations cave, which is going to happen.
I think there will quietly be a deal worked out. I mean, look, this isn't just the New York Times or Washington Post. This is Newsmax, Fox News. Like this is like across the board. Other than, I think it's only the On Network. I think One America is the only one that signed it. Everyone else is like, no.
I will say.
Okay, so hold on. But here's what I want to flesh out. But again, I'll get out of the weeds. Yep. What that you know of the policy is objectionable. Just tell me
that I have to get permission to talk to people within the building. When people in the Pentagon leaked about how dysfunctional the Afghanistan withdrawal was that bad? But
they don't have to get permission. You can't walk in. No. You cannot walk into any building in the United States.
It's objectionable to. It's also objectionable to put a blanket ban on publishing information that might be in the public interest. News organizations in this country show remarkable deference, in my view, sometimes excessive deference to the federal government when they say, don't publish this because it jeopardizes national security. As you know well, Sean, things are overclassified like crazy in our government. So to say to news organizations, we will decide what you can publish.
Exactly.
But I just read you the policy that says here, members of the news media are not required to submit their writings to the Department of War.
No pre-publication review is different than saying you are required to sign a document saying you won't publish classified material.
I mean, you gain by coming. Hold on. Just again, remember, there's a difference. If I want to stand outside the Pentagon or pick up the phone and call every source, which is what you do at every other department, okay? Every other department, you pick up the phone. Hey, meet me at the Starbucks. I'll call you on your thing. I'll text you on Signal. That's normal reporting. The idea that the Pentagon right now, current policy is you get to come into our building. You get to walk around free reign.
It's not Pete Hegseth's building. It belongs to the people of the United States.
So does every other building. Why can't they walk into HHS?
It's not about walking. We're debating the wrong.
I agree. And it's not about walking. But Sean, when Pete Hegseth says it's not a right to cover the Pentagon,
that's not what he said.
He did say it. He said you have no right to cover the Pentagon. It's a privilege. That is bullshit. to say that it's a privilege to exercise on behalf of the public interest the ability to cover what a department that lies to the American people under Democrat and Republican administrations habitually and historically, to say that it's a privilege to be able to cover the Pentagon is bullshit.
And by the way,
of all the policies, I'm sorry, of all the policies that the Pentagon and this entire administration has put forward that have been criticized as antithetical to the First Amendment or American traditions, this is truly one of the worst, and it will not stand. Although I believe that, most of the things where the press predicts this will not stand because it's violating norms, this one will not stand. And as Dan pointed out, it will not stand because no serious news organization could accept this. And by the way, it's not about the rights of the press or the privileges of the press. It's the ability of the American people to be confident that the press will hold it accountable. The Department of Defense, which kills people and spends a ton of our tax money and is now running free with no reporters in the building. Dan.
Well, and I'll just say, broadly speaking, it is not just the Pentagon. Right. Sean, you probably agree. And Mark, I know you do, having been in the game so long. Government lies.
Yeah.
Government cheats. Government does things they're not supposed to do. The idea that, and this is like one of the Trump talking points, treat us well and trust us. Like, you should never trust your government. This is from a Democrat who spent a lot of time in government. 100%. I would not trust them.
I just want to be clear on my
position. It's outrageous.
Look, I am a believer in a free press. I have press that holds people accountable, especially our government, because I don't even just believe whether it's Republican or Democrat. I believe that the bureaucracy is a problem, regardless of administration, should be held accountable, right? And the Department of Defense, in terms of the volume of money and authority, absolutely. But where I think this is, again, missing the point is there is a difference between the ability to cover and to have freedom to write whatever you want, which I am a staunch defender of, and the ability to say you get to come into our house. I don't get to go to the AP. I can't even go to, the idea that you're saying you can come into our building, have free reign and access to all of this.
Not your building. It's our building.
It's our building, Sean.
Sure. Name another building.
Here's what Pete Hegseth tweeted. Pentagon access is a privilege, not a right. So
access.
It
is.
It's not.
It's not.
Oh my God.
Not.
Credentialed press no longer permitted to solicit criminal acts.
Sean, you sound like the White House Correspondents Association.
Yeah.
You say that you have a privilege to go into a right to go into any government building? Are you kidding me?
They're all the people's houses, not your house.
Let's go. Open them all up.
They are. It's
all right.
One
more topic, and then to your questions. If you want the conversation, please raise your hand.
I happen to love America.
Yeah, I love America, and I know that during times of war, and we're in a bunch of wars right now, undeclared, by the way, the Pentagon lies. That's history shows that. Happened in Vietnam. It's happened in every war since. The Pentagon lies. And when it's not a separate discussion, because if you scale back the ability of the Pentagon press corps to cover the building, to expose lies, you do damage and danger to our democracy and the credibility of the military. That's what they're doing. Okay, the group chat story. J.D. Vance continues to be very aggressive, saying he doesn't give a whit about some group texts of young people because young people say irresponsible things. And, that he has no time for this when the Democrats haven't denounced their attorney general candidate in Virginia. And the story did jump to the New York Times. I think the New York Times has 2 stories about it today, if I'm not mistaken. Dan, is the story over, even though it jumped to the New York Times, or is it going to continue?
I do think it's over because there's nothing new to really add to it. And I think J.D. Vance is not helping himself nor the Republican Party by trying to defend this.
Oh, he's helping himself. People love
he's helping himself with the base. He is not helping himself when you think about J.D. Vance's. In my opinion, you fail the common sense test when you keep saying this is no big deal.
Yeah. Sean, is it over?
It's over unless another shoe drops, right? So, I mean, so far. And the funny thing is, I will say this, in terms of accountability, at least the reporting that I've seen, many of these individuals have lost their jobs. And I'm fine with, I find what they said to be offensive and wrong. So I'm not here, but the irony is, and yet to the vice president's point, we're potentially going to elect a person in Virginia that no one will denounce to be their top law enforcement officer who wanted to kill the Speaker of the House. I mean, you want to talk about irony? A bunch of young
the voters will decide that. Voters will decide.
Right. And they will decide that after a bunch of Democrats like Nancy Pelosi refuse to weigh in on it. Pathetic.
Right. Dems failed the common sense test there. Yeah. And
all right.
JD Vance is failing here.
Time for questions. We'll bring people in. We'll ask them to tell us where they are and what's on their mind. And our first community member is strolling through New York Central Park, and I know what's his mind. He thinks the Pentagon press corps is a bunch of babies. It's not Judith Gray. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Newsmax WABC superstar Greg Kelly. Greg, welcome in.
By the way, and former Navy pilot.
Yeah, former Navy pilot and extremely rugged, handsome man. Just objectively the case. Greg, I love seeing Greg without makeup. It just always makes me feel vibrant and alive. Greg Kelly, welcome in. Do you want to trash me for defending the right of the press corps on behalf of the American people to cover the Pentagon? Is that what you want to talk about?
Great idea. But first, a correction. I was a Marine pilot. A huge difference. Hello?
Yeah, well, no, it's a division. It's a division.
Yeah.
Look, there are reporters. It would actually ultimately be to the advantage of reporters to cover the military from outside the building. There is this erroneous kind of notion that everything happens inside the building. It's basically a TV studio. Traditionally, though, why they have the escorts is, and I worked in the building as an officer in the Marines and as a journalist, it's just geographically a pain in the neck to retrieve journalists one at a time and escort them anywhere. It was entirely too permissive. And Mark, yes, the military lies, but so does the media. When you say, oh, they will hold the military accountable, nobody buys that anymore. They have disgraced themselves so many times.
Yeah, I want them to do better. I want them to do better too, Greg. I want them to do better too.
But let's face it.
But Greg, let me give you an example. Right now, the U.S. military is killing people on boats with the allegation that they're drug smugglers. We don't have any idea what's going on. We don't know who's on the boats. It's not a declared war. It's just the president's ordering the Pentagon to kill people with no due process.
And by the way, they're not sharing it in classified briefings, according to Democrats and Republicans on Capitol Hill. They are not sharing much of any information on this.
So, Greg, don't you think the press corps, if it was doing its job well, would be trying to get to the bottom of that and hold them accountable? It's extraordinary use of presidential power and the Pentagon.
Presidential power was used to invade a country for weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist, and the press corps went along with it. So they're not the antidote here. And there are other ways to cover the Pentagon and pursue these questions rather than walking all over a building. Now, it's not unreasonable for these reporters to go.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Dan and I are less focused on walking all over the building than we are on the notion that you can't publish classified information.
No, you can't solicit it.
Yeah. You can't talk to people, right? And without permission, right?
Yeah. Well, that's part of how we hold powerful interests accountable to the public interest.
No, actually, look, you do that, you're breaking the law. So
was it breaking the law to publish? Was it breaking the law to publish the Pentagon Papers? Well, yeah, it was. Yeah. So would you have been against that if you were in the Washington Post or the New York Times? Would you have said no, we shouldn't?
Yeah, as you know, that was contested all the way up to the Supreme Court.
It was, but I'm asking you as a journalist, do you think that was a good moment for American journalism or bad?
Number one, I don't like the term journalist. It means different things to different people.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, Greg, you need to.
Greg, your audio is not great.
I mean, Greg, I'll ask you another question. Was it bad that the people in the Pentagon leaked about how dysfunctional the Biden withdrawal was from Afghanistan? Should that have seen the light of day?
You didn't have to be in the Pentagon to know that.
Right.
You didn't need to be in the Pentagon to know that. I know it. I haven't set foot in the Pentagon for a decade.
Okay. All right. I mean, that's interesting that you think that they should have all been prosecuted.
What was classified about any of that?
Yeah, there was nothing classified. And by the way, look, if you're willing to, if you're willing,
Greg, I'm sorry, Greg, we're having trouble with your audio. Greg,
apparently you need to get Judith a new phone for Christmas.
Yeah, get Judith a new phone. Greg, thank you. We loved having you on, even though everything you said was a bunch of bollocks. I say respectfully with peace, love, and understanding. Andrew, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind for Sean and Dan.
Oh, I'm from Durham, North Carolina, and the term that you just used, Mark, is one of my favorites. So
Mine
I
too.
appreciate
Tell by the accent that you're a North Carolinian.
Never mind the sex. Never mind the Sex Pistols.
Oh, yes. But no, I did want to say, Mark, first of all, your monologue on Barry Weiss. Like, I am a free presser, and just like going back from her first, whenever she started doing her Honestly podcast, for instance, her first story was on a Palestinian refugee who came from Kuwait. He built a business in Minneapolis. He grew it to tens of millions. I think he hired about two. He had an employee base of about 200 people, and during the riots, for instance, there was, I think, his daughter. So they unearthed some text messages, or not text messages, tweets that were sort of like pretty deplorable, but that kind of had a really sort of like big ramification on his business, and it was just based on sort of like who Barry Weiss is, and I don't always agree with the content from the Free Press. That's the whole point. And the same thing with the two-way platform is trying to understand people from different sides and the stories of like getting to the context behind it, and that's kind of like where I drew from the Free Press and drew from Barry Weiss. Is it's not just a lot of stories nowadays are very just reactionary, so that there's no real context behind it. It's like taking the time. So I understand the news, the media, how it has to be instant gratification. However, just sort of like understanding sort of like the people behind the stories, even for people I don't like. They did a piece on Carl Rittenhouse, understanding that story in more detail. I don't agree with
Andrew. Hold on one second. I want to let Sean and Dan comment on what you said so far. Sean.
I'm just doing. So, are you trying to, or like, is the notion about where the free press? I'm still trying to understand. Like, what is it that?
What's the question?
Yeah. What's the question?
I guess my it was more just saying from what Mark was sort of like insinuating with his piece that it's going to be a good thing for CBS moving forward, just to have people from both sides.
Yeah.
And I agree. So like I guess my that was kind of like my first point. My second point, which I've been kind of like thinking about over the last few weeks, is creating some sort of national unity here. What is your opinion on creating, or would it be a viable or a popular opinion to create a mandatory national service here in the U.S.? It's not sort of like not something like a military service, but let's say so like you're 18, you finish high school.
So I'll take the first one first. Look, I think the thing that's so fascinating to me about Barry Weiss and her journey is that at her core, at least as far as I know, she's still fairly liberal. And yet because she just was willing to ask certain questions that I think were common sense, she gets painted as contrarian or like a rightist. I don't know, Barry. I'm fascinated by her. I frankly admire what she's done business-wise. And I like just the idea that she's willing to engage and ask questions. And so I don't think that I think she, and again, I say this admittedly not knowing her or her entire journey, but as far as I know, she hasn't really changed her core of who she is ideologically, but she was willing to entertain alternative voices, and I admire that. So I think that it's a healthy thing for CBS or for anyone, and I hope it's a good thing. I mean, just from a business standpoint, I think CBS will welcome that. I am a big believer that I think the country would benefit from national service of some sort. For a million reasons. So I think we could figure out what that would be. And this is where, again, the devil's always in the detail about how that looks. But I think that you could do, a year, like a year of military service, Peace Corps service. I would like it to stick at that level, meaning I think the problem is when you get down to like a bunch of people saying, hey, if you go, and I'm not being pejorative on this, but I'm saying like someone say like, oh, you could go work for a Soros organization. That loses the point. You need to do something that serves the country and buys us into the country. So I would argue maybe a third option. I'm not a big
for
fan.
America or something.
That's where I draw the, see, again, it's Teach for America to me is about, like, I like the Peace Corps.
About helping kids.
I know I do like kids and babies. But I think that I would like to keep it very high level on the country, right? So maybe an infrastructure problem where it's like you do a trades thing where you go and you work on a bridge or
Tennessee Valley Authority
reservation or something like that that helps the greater good as opposed to a national project. So I would love to see this. I think we would benefit tremendously, and I think it buys in the next generation of America and what it means to be a citizen at a much higher level.
Dan.
Totally agree with Sean. And on the first point, I'll just say it has baffled me the last few years that given the failing of the current business model of all these news organizations, whether it's CNN, MSNBC, the mainstream organizations, and you're so narrowly focused in your audience, why would you not try to appeal to both sides and bring in a bigger audience? It baffles me.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Andrew, thank you. Great topic. Very grateful to you. Thank you so much. All right. Drew, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two-Way. Unmute. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind for our August
O'Malley,
the morning meeting.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Zoo crew.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
I have to say, first time, long time, and love each and every one of you individually. Dan, I'm a staunch Republican, but I absolutely love you.
Thank you.
I think that you are the type of voice that we need more of in this world.
Thank you. Thank you.
So last night, I'm just jumping around. Last night I watched the CNN town hall. I also watched Newsmax, and I have to say at Newsmax, I thought Fetterman was tremendous.
News Nation.
News Nation, you're right. I thought he was tremendous during tremendous during the broadcast. And again, who would have thought that he would be probably the most reasonable voice in the Democratic Party? I mean, I did not see that coming.
It's quite a story arc.
It really is.
Who is that you're referencing?
Fetterman.
So Fetterman was on stage and really talked about why it was actually a really interesting conversation he had.
Yep.
Yeah. I thought he touched all the bases. I've been thinking more and more about 2028, and again, when you see what AOC was saying last night about drinking air and that Deloitte was poisoning rivers, we need her to be the face of the Democrats in 2028. And the ultimate ticket would be her and Jasmine Crockett. They are two national treasures that must be protected at all costs. I personally will take a bullet for either one of them to make sure they are safe going forward.
Dan.
And on the Republican side, JD's fabulous, and thinking about who a possible running mate for him would be, it would be one of your best friends, Megyn Kelly. She would be the most incredible vice president, his right-hand person. Again, I know she has young children or whatever, but she would be the first female president in 2036. I mean, yeah. I think that she is absolutely
Drew would be a bit of a pay cut. Dan.
I was just going to say, could she keep? And well, Trump's changed things. She'll just keep doing it from the Naval Observatory. I do think AOC is going to run. I do think our party needs to have this debate about issues and style, and we shouldn't fear it. We should embrace it. We should see what emerges. Who am I to say, AOC can never be successful? I would have said that about Trump in 2015 when he, based on the substance of what he was talking about, I didn't think it was particularly popular. Turned out it was genius. I think that one of the fascinating stories, Sean and I were talking about this before we came on air, is there's a story, I think, in Axios about Democrats looking to take out Fetterman. And it's remarkable because we keep talking about Trump expanding the tent, bringing in RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and going after black men and Latinos and everything. And here we are trying to run out the most popular politician in Pennsylvania, the ultimate swing state, because he doesn't check all the right boxes. And that says how dysfunctional we are right now as a coalition.
It was funny. He said that, like, he goes, I vote, because Bill O'Reilly questioned him and said, why are you a Democrat? He goes, I vote with the Democrats over 90-something% of the time. He goes, that's it's the same thing with Bob Casey back in the day, right? There's one or two issues and suddenly you're not good enough.
Yeah. Drew, thank you. Grateful to you. Thanks for being part of Two-Way, for your kind words. And here is Brennan, Brennan, you're going to have to be quick because we're up against the clock. So maybe make it true, false, whatever it is. But thank you for being here.
Sure. First time, long time. Thank you for calling me.
Thank you, sir.
I will just say something I'd like you to ask some of your guests is, who is their favorite political person, dead or alive, in American history?
Okay.
And in classic Mark Halperin fashion, I'll have you three give the answer, and then I will give the correct answer at the end.
Okay, Brennan. Thank you for that. Sean, so who's the person we like the most? Is that what you said?
Just who is your favorite political person in history?
Favorite political person in history, Sean.
Oh God, this is a great question. I mean,
I'm taking Lincoln off the table.
Yeah.
I know this sounds trite, but I actually find Trump the most fascinating. To Dan's point, this idea that he's the first person that wasn't a general or an elected official, and how he approached government. I don't know. I might stick with Trump.
Okay. Dan says what?
Yeah, I'll go along the lines. Teddy Roosevelt, because he went after Trump. He went against what people thought was you could do, taking on powerful interests unapologetically. Similar to Trump, just, I'm going to swim upstream and try to stop me.
Yep.
I got the people behind me.
Yeah, I'm going with Elvis. I'm going with Elvis. Brennan, what's the correct answer?
Is Cassius Marcellus Clay.
Cassius Clay is a great answer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
It's
Brennan,
similar, right?
Yeah.
Going against the what you thought you could do. Yep.
Yeah, it's not as good as Elvis, but it's pretty good. Brennan, thank you.
The person who was alive for the Civil War, not the boxer.
Yeah.
Just make it
clear. I got it. Thank you, sir. Have a great day, and thanks for being part of Two-Way. Sean, what do you have tonight?
That's Thursday, so we got the big panel. We got a lot to break down, because a lot of fun stuff today. Tony Katz, our Indianapolis correspondent, Ashley Branston from the Daily Caller, and Jessica Anderson, who leads the Sentinel Action Fund.
All right, 4:00 today. Dan Turrentine, what are you doing?
Well, I'll have the group chat if it's Thursday at 4. We're going to talk about the New York City mayoral race and the rise of Mamdani, kind of on a more broadly speaking. What does it mean? What are the lessons to be learned? Should be a great conversation.
All right, so join Dan and his colleagues at 4:00. Then at 6:00, please join me for Two-Way tonight. We'll be having all the news of the day, but also a debate preview, because we'll be leading right into the debate. Nomi Kuntz will be joining us, amongst others. And then at 9:00 Eastern time, after the 2-hour debate, please join Dan and me and Megyn Kelly, Ricky Schlotz.
Meghan McCain, right?
Meghan McCain, sorry. And then
not vice president's going to be busy. Vice president.
She's
Meghan McCain. Thank you. Join us all. Again, if you want to join on the Two-Way platform and be able to ask questions after the debate, go to tway.tv and sign up. If you want to watch it live in traditional one-way fashion, you can watch it on our website, on our YouTube channel, or same with the New York Post. And we'll be going for 90 minutes. We'll show you the highlights of the debate if you missed it or just want to relive them, and great analysis from Lydia Moynihan.
Mark, I want to hear this
Ricky
breakdown
Schlotz.
tomorrow about why I still don't get this bifurcation of different hosts. To me, this is...
Yeah. We'll see. And then
make everybody happy.
Also later today, a new episode of Next Up will drop. My guest is Scott Jennings, the Kentucky superstar and CNN commentator. And we're going to break down how Scott does what he does on CNN. You won't want to miss it. And we'll be back in 23 hours. And of course, we'll have full analysis of the debate as well here on the morning meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. Thank you all for watching. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but you know what? These things happen. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Maybe our winner or loser will come from the debate. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Tomorrow's winners and losers. Thank you. Week went fast.